Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit different. Over my 30 years in the actuarial and risk professions, I've seen it all. I mean, countless pricing models, endless risk assessments, and just massive, mind-boggling data sets. But today, we're actually stepping away from the spreadsheets for a minute. We're going to focus on a single, really profound concept that literally underpins all of it. We're talking about the architecture of integrity. We're going to strip away all the performative stuff you see in corporate life and look at how we fundamentally define true quality in our highly analytical work. So, let's dive right in. Think about this for a second. What dictates your actions when the doors are closed and the audience is completely gone? Because, let's be honest, it is incredibly easy to perform when the spotlight is right on you. When regulators are auditing or your clients are scrutinizing your risk assessments, we all naturally put our best foot forward, right? But what actually happens when all that external pressure just evaporates? When there is zero immediate consequence for, say, tweaking an assumption just a little bit, taking a tiny shortcut on your data validation, or delivering a model that is just good enough? That quiet, totally unobserved space? That is exactly what we're exploring today. And that brings us to our foundational source text for this explainer. It is just one single, unbelievably powerful sentence. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. I'm actually going to say that one more time because I really want you to absorb the full weight of these words. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. It's 10 words, just 10 words. But within those 10 words lies this complete philosophical shift. And frankly, it's the only sustainable way to survive a decades-long career in risk management.
Section 1. Defining true quality, beyond the surface.
To really wrap our heads around what this quote is telling us, we first have to fundamentally change our traditional definition of the word quality. Normally, we think of it as a noun, right? Like a high-quality policy or a perfectly polished final report. But our source text brilliantly reframes quality as a verb. It's an active behavioral standard. It is the literal act of doing it right. For an actuary, quality isn't just your signature on the final opinion. It's that invisible, nitty-gritty rigor you apply to your base data before anyone else even sees it. It transforms quality from this static endpoint into a continuous, active choice you have to make every single day.
Moving on to Section 2, the unseen moments, the real test. Okay, so it's one thing to commit to the act of doing things right. It is an entirely different ballgame to maintain that commitment when you are completely unobserved. Look at it this way. On one hand, we have doing it right when the world is watching. And a lot of times, that's driven by external validation or maybe just the sheer panic of a failed regulatory audit. But on the flip side, we have doing it right when no one is looking. And that relies 100% on your internal ethical standard. When you operate in that space, you are holding the line on a complex pricing model simply because the math absolutely demands it. The contrast between these two motivations, that is the dividing line between just performing for an audience and actually living with true integrity.
Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate standard, internal integrity.
When we take that active choice of doing it right and we combine it with the total vacuum of when no one is looking, we arrive at what is basically the absolute pinnacle of professional truth. True quality is an entirely unseen metric. Look, we live in an era that is completely obsessed with visible performance reviews and hitting quarterly earnings. Yet, in my 30 years in this industry, the biggest lesson I've learned is that the absolute most important standard of our work is totally invisible. Your true quality isn't measured by some flashy, successful client presentation. It is measured by that unglamorous, frustrating work you did at 11 p.m. the night before when you noticed a tiny, almost invisible coding error in your reserving model and you chose to fix it instead of just going to sleep. And that leaves us with one pretty massive question to chew on. If your unseen actions define your true quality, what standard are you holding yourself to right now? Because when this explainer ends and you go back to your desk, fire up your models, and that office door clicks shut behind you, who are you in that room? Because the work you do in those quiet, unobserved spaces, it isn't just a part of your process. It is the ultimate defining architecture of your integrity as a risk professional. Thank you so much for joining me for this exploration, and I want to challenge you to carry that unseen metric with you into whatever you build next.